Welcome students, this is Quadratics 1 of a two-part series. This is video 3 in our countdown to star. Alright, we'll start with y equals x squared. This is the quadratic parent function. It goes through the origin here and it's this perfect U-shaped graph. So this is called a parabola and the equation is called a quadratic, and a quadratic produces a parabola when you graph it. If we want to turn this graph upside down, all you do is change the number out in front of x squared to a negative, and it graphs the same u upside down. Okay? So this is negative, which is a frown. This is positive, which is a smile. The general form that we study a lot of times in Algebra 1 is y equals ax squared. A, if it's negative, it flips it to the frown. If a is a bigger number, and when we say bigger, we're talking bigger than 1, it produces a narrow graph. And if a is a smaller number, and we're talking smaller than 1, like a fraction, a regular fraction, this makes a wide graph. We, in class, showed you, a lot of teachers showed you the Fat Albert clip, and this is kind of like this was your exercise number. So if I put a 3 in front of there, that's like somebody exercises 3 times a day, and you're going to be really narrow if you exercise 3 times a day. Whereas if I put a 1/5 in there, that means you exercise once every 5 days. That's going to make you wider. The plus C part, this does your shift, or slide, or translate. Those all mean the same thing. Okay. If we have no C, that means it's at the origin. If we have a plus C, that's shift up. And if we have a minus C, that's shift down. Okay. The parts of a quadratic. The lowest point here is known as the vertex, and that's an x comma y, that's a point. Okay. In this graph, it's known as a minimum, but when we have the upside down ones, the vertex is known as the maximum. Okay. Minimum is the very lowest point, maximum is the very highest point. This line right here would be like drawing a line directly down your nose. This is called the axis of symmetry. Okay. The axis of symmetry is always an x equals equation, and it's x equals whatever number is in the vertex there. So if you find this number here, or if you just draw this line down, and when it hits the x-axis, that'll tell you what the axis of symmetry is. We're going to introduce roots, which are also the same as zeros, solutions, and x-intercepts in this video. We're going to talk a lot more about them in Quadratics 2 video. Okay. We can have 0 roots, 1 root, or 2 roots. Okay. A root is where it hits the x-axis. So to have 0 roots, it means it's either been shifted above the axis or below the x-axis. Those both have 0 roots. To have 1 root, the quadratic comes down, just touches, and goes right back up. So it has 1 root right there where it hits. And the one we dealt the most with in class is 2 roots. And 2 roots means it goes through the line and comes back out the other side. So 1, 2. So 0 roots, 1 root, 1, 2 roots. Okay, that's the end of it. We'll pick back up there on Quadratics 2 video tomorrow night.